Welcome back to Movies TV Mad, and of course you can follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad, and welcome to Sunday's edition of the DCEU Daily. Please wait to the end of the video so I can update you with all the DCEU news and updates. But first, let's talk about what's in store for Superman. What's the future of Superman in DC live action? It doesn't matter the ethnicity of the person playing Superman or the version of Superman. It doesn't matter who's playing him. But when you wear that S shield on your chest, it means something. It inspires something. Superman must always be the most moral person in the room. He's inspired so many boys and girls and everybody else through the ages. One of the reasons I love Jimmy Olsen and his friendship with Superman in the comics, and really hasn't been depicted that well in live action, although the Christopher Reeve movies did attempt to have that kind of dynamic between Clark, Superman and Jimmy Olsen, but they didn't go the whole way. But the reason I like Jimmy Olsen is because this young kid who's just come out of school has got the best role model to look up to. He's not Lex Luthor's henchman. He's working with the most moral person in the room. And, you know, this young kid becomes Superman's best pal. And it's an inspiration to the kid. And that's what Superman is. When you attempt to darken Superman up, we've seen that hardcore fans haven't been very happy about that. And so we go, what is the future? It's interesting, isn't it? You know, Snyder and Nolan and Terrio and Goya attempted something. I don't think, you know, the Superman played by Henry Cavill isn't this more, you know, this ensemble of purity and morality. I don't think he's as dark as people think he is. And I think, especially in Man of Steel, you can see he's an inspiration. He's a good person. If we look at Man of Steel, there's a great scene that sums up what Snyder and Goya feel about the character in the bar. In the bar, that guy is sexually harassing the barmaid, and Clark Kent comes to her rescue, and then he wants, you know, this bad guy wants a fight. He's embarrassing Clark, he pours beer all over his head, and Clark shows the most important element of this character, which is withholding your temper, keeping your cool. Because when you're Superman, if you lose your temper, you could kill someone. He could easily kill that guy, but he can't, and he knows he can't. So he puts his male ego to one side. If you could look at the comparison of James Bond and the accusations of toxic masculinity, well, Clark Kent and Superman and Cal are the stark opposite of James Bond. He's okay with leaving his male ego at the door, and at this moment he's being embarrassed by this guy. Although when the guy pushes him, he starts to realize that Clark's stronger than him, but that doesn't stop him, because people like that are dumb. Bullies are dumb. Ultimately, Clark holds his temper, but ruins the shit out of his truck. This is what Tom Welling's Clark Kent does to Whitney Fordman, of course, in the Smallville pilot, and it's great fun. I don't really know how Clark in Smallville knew which truck to do, and I certainly don't know how Clark in Man of Steel knew that was the guy's truck, but we're just going to have to accept that he did. So what you're seeing here is what it takes to be this character. Imagine having these powers. You could really hurt all your enemies if you wanted to. And I suppose in certain elements that's a very human trait. So there's been lots of rumours and conjecture about the future of Superman in live action. You know, Henry Cavill's Superman was benched straight after Justice League, being punished for the failure of that film. Now, the heads of the studio and DC live action back then may hold Superman and Cavill responsible for the failure of that film, but that's because they were obviously very deluded. They said Superman needed a break, that people were tired of Superman. Nobody's ever been tired of Superman. That's not the question. They created a version of Superman which is the Superman from the comics. He's pure, he's a good guy, but they put him in films that were darker. And Snyder's design of the character at times, especially with the heat vision, kind of had parodies of the devil with the, you know, with the beams coming out of his eyes. And a lot of people didn't like that. In terms of Henry Cavill, he is Superman. He has that morality, especially the scenes in Man of Steel with his on-screen mother, Diane Lane, Martha Kent. You really feel that purity, that this woman definitely brought up a good person. And you know, I mean, these versions of Ma and Pa Kent in the Snyderverse are very, very interesting. They do give kind of darker advice, but it's kind of realistic advice your parents would give you. You know, what do you expect me to do? Let them die? Maybe. Now, if that was your parents, they'd probably say the same thing because you're more important than anyone else. And also in that element that people got, you know, kind of triggered about, you know, Jonathan's thinking about the whole thing. Once people work out what you can do, you're in danger yourself. Where Clark's mentality is, from a small boy in Man of Steel, I'm less important than the collective. It's something he's been brought up to think, but it's ingrained in him because he's Jor-El's son. We see in the Krypton sequence in Man of Steel that Jor-El is willing to sacrifice himself to save his son and to save his people by putting the codex inside him. You know, a kind of, you know, the DNA of 1 billion Kryptonian life forms. And so he sacrifices his life. He's murdered by Zod because of that. And he's quite willing to die for his son and his people. And so that basically Cal has got the same kind of heroic tendencies ingrained within him as his father Jor-El has. But his father Jonathan Kent, in Man of Steel as well, is very heroic. I think the most heroic versions of Jonathan Kent are in Smallville and in Man of Steel. In Man of Steel, we see the tornado sequence when he carries the woman's baby, gives it to Clark, and he goes and saves the dog because he doesn't want anyone to see Clark's powers. He's willing to sacrifice his very life to protect his son's secret, as John Schneider's Jonathan Kent is in Smallville when he dies of the heart attack, because Lionel Luthor now knows the truth, and Jonathan is willing to die at that moment to protect Clark's secret. So very similar aesthetics for both versions of Jonathan Kent in Smallville and in Man of Steel. That doesn't surprise me because Snyder says that he used to sit down with his kids and watch Smallville. So he saw Smallville as a bit of an inspiration, and there's a lot of Easter eggs to Smallville in Man of Steel as well, and a few actors as well, which is great, of course. I think at least 2 actors. But that's the thing about it. So I've never ever believed that Cavill's version of Superman is un-Superman. Of course, breaking Zod's neck is un-Superman. Just ask the hardcore DC Comics fans. It's not something that upset me because you do see it as him not having a choice. And also in life, you've got to experience the bad to be against the bad, to learn a lesson from it. I always felt that was the whole point of him breaking Zod's neck, so he knows how it feels to kill and he never wants to do it again. So there's the interesting element of it, but clearly Goyer and Snyder didn't feel that strongly about Superman's no-kill policy, and Snyder didn't feel that strongly about Batman's no-kill policy either. So they're the reasons that people had issues with Affleck's Batman and, more importantly, Cavill's Superman. It wasn't the actor himself, it wasn't the way Cavill was playing Superman, because he plays Superman in the way you should play Superman. This is a pure, naive farm boy. And, you know, he always puts other people first. I think the most beautiful moment in Cavill's Superman career is at the end of BVS, and when, you know, he grabs the kryptonite spear and he goes and has the final battle with Doomsday, and people were saying, why didn't he just give it to Diana, Wonder Woman? You know, she's, you know, I don't know why you would give it to her, because Doomsday could still put the spear inside her, and just because she's not allergic to kryptonite, it doesn't mean she can't die. Superman would never allow somebody else to do that. He would never sacrifice Diana so he could be safe with Lois. That's the point of my bone of contention with Berlanti's kind of idea in Crisis on Infinite Earths of having Tom Welling's Clark Kent retire as Superman. He would never do that. He wouldn't. And certainly not the Clark Kent version. And the Lois Lane of Smallville would never allow Clark to retire of being Superman just to stay home with her and the kids. It would never happen. But that's Greg Berlanti for you. He's definitely obsessed with beta mailing up Superman and Clark Kent. He's tried to do it many times in Arrowverse with Tyler's version as well. And so, talking of Tyler, we've got that live action version. Season 2 is coming. There's been some updates. And someone said the other day, everyone keeps on complaining there's not any Superman live action media, but we got Superman and Lois. The thing is, not everyone likes that version, or likes it, but doesn't like it as much as they like Cavill. And also, fandoms are all about the justice. A great injustice was done to Henry Cavill in terms of Superman. He got Man of Steel, he got BVS, we finally saw him in the Snyder Cut, but he deserved more than that. His story isn't finished within the DCEU. And, you know, you don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen. And I mean, this is the problem with events like DC Fandom. We all get our kind of hopes up that there'll be a Cavill announcement, an haircut announcement, or this or that and the other, whatever you want there to be announced. And when it doesn't happen, the whole event feels like it's a bad event. Of course, it's not, because it's made many, many DC fans really happy. But I would assume after DC Fandom's over, there will be 2 or 3% of people, or maybe 10% of people, that don't get the announcement they want. It's like at Christmas. You unwrap the present. It's not a laptop. It's not a PS5. It's just socks. That is life, I'm afraid. But I've been saying it for a long time that we've needed clarification about Cavill's Superman. Now, he spoke a couple of years ago to a health and fitness magazine. You know, he spoke saying that the cape's still in the closet, that there is something going on. Now, I think this was back in 2018, 2019. So he obviously knew then that he was still going to be Superman. Now, that's a while back. But the problem was when Walter Hamada came in, there were a lot of fires to put out. So it was slowly, you know. And, you know, like this year, we only got the Snyder Cut and James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. Next year is the year we really see Walter Hamada's vision for the DCEU, and we see if it works or not. So if there's going to be any Henry Cavill in any DCEU next year, you would expect it in things like Black Adam and hopefully the Flash movie. I think if the Flash, Barry Allen, Ezra Miller, is treading through all the DCEU movies, he'll be treading through Man of Steel as well. So we'll see, I suppose we'll see Henry Cavill like that. But we want to see new Henry Cavill footage. Of course we do. And I'm sure he's done something. I think he will be in Black Adam, and I think the following year he will be in Shazam! Fury of the Gods. I hope. Because you can't just end it off screen like this. People want to see more Cavill. And at the end of the day, people talk, you know, filmmakers say you don't always give the audience what they want. I think in this terms, you do. So, the future of Superman live action, the stuff we know about, Superman and Lois, Ta-Nehisi Coates and J.J. Abrams' Superman, maybe get a mention at DC Fandom this Saturday. I can't believe it. I can now say this Saturday. So excited. Don't miss my bite-sized videos on the day reacting to all the reveals and news that we get. And one of the reveals and news we want to get is that Henry Cavill's Superman is happening. Now, we know Ta-Nehisi Coates and J.J. Abrams' Superman is happening. We know Michael B. Jordan's Val Zod project is happening. So those two projects will probably get some kind of official announcement at DC Fandom, and I hope they do. And that's what I was talking about earlier. It doesn't really matter about the ethnicity of the actor or the version of this character. It's how he's portrayed. Now, I understand that Val Zod and whatever version of Superman Ta-Nehisi Coates is, you know, stirring up for us, they're slightly different, with different backgrounds. But Superman is Superman, whatever part of the multiverse he comes from. as I say, he's still got to be the most moral person in the room. Because if he's not, call the character you're doing something else. Superman is supposed to uplift us. He's uplifted us in so many versions of the character, in live action, in George Reeves' version, in Dean Cain's version, in Tom Welling's version, in Henry Cavill's version, in Brandon Routh's Superman Returns. There's lots of uplifting moments there, especially when he lifts up New Krypton. I think that's an amazing sequence. So even with the versions you don't like, you can see there's lots of uplifting moments, and that's who Superman is. And I think we've never needed Superman in live action more than today. And it doesn't matter if he's a black man, an Asian man, a Latino man, or a white male. It doesn't matter. What matters is that the versions you're giving us, and it doesn't matter what part of the multiverse he's from, that he's Superman, that he's a good person, and he inspires us to be good. Now, what's become good these days with the kind of political rumblings we get from Hollywood isn't necessarily good. I hear a lot from Hollywood creatives and actors about masculinity, toxic masculinity, compassion and kindness. I very rarely see a lot of compassion and kindness from Hollywood. I spent 6 months there, so I know all about them clearing the streets of homeless people before an awards ceremony. That's not very compassionate, is it? Where's your outcry and outrage about that? So Superman shouldn't be sitting there talking about masculinity. Superman's inspiration is through his actions. He's a hero. He's a hero who takes on the mantle of Superman to protect and save, to catch us before we fall. Some people think that's not a good thing for there to be someone to be so reliant upon, but after all, it is fiction, and wouldn't it be wonderful in real life if we had someone, you know, to catch us when we fall? I think we've seen a different version of Superman versus Goya, Terrio and Snyder and Nolan, and that's great. But now I think we need the pure Superman back, because I believe this world needs him. He needs this version, right? You've done that version, it's all very good, but people are crying out for pure Superman. You know, DC Comics accurate Superman. And there's lots of different versions, of course, of comic book Superman. But I think we just need the pure version. You can amp his personality up to make him a little bit more interesting. You can give him some human struggles, some emotional struggles, as they did on Smallville. But we need our live action Superman. Having a Val Zod movie and a Ta-Nehisi Coates, a separate version from Ta-Nehisi Coates, that's two different Supermen. That's what I want to see. Superman front and centre, like they're doing with Batman. So we have two Superman projects happening. A limited series on HBO Max and a movie for the theatrical system. But Henry Cavill deserves more. And if he's not going to get it, we should at least be told. Because I know that you're fed up, and I'm fed up with the back teeth of listening to all the projects, hearing about all the projects Henry Cavill's going to do that are not Superman. Fed up of hearing Henry Cavill talk about everything but Superman, because he can't really talk about anything. I think we need some clarity. Now, I've said this so many times, they may not tell us anything until we see him as a surprise in these movies. So I don't know what's going to happen there, but he deserves it. But anyway, we've got two brand new versions. We've got, what's his name? Tyler Hoechlin's Superman, just mentioned him earlier, and I forgot his name already, I'm terrible. But yeah, and so that's 3 versions of Superman. And I am convinced that Brandon Routh's Christopher Reeve's Superman will be around too, and I expect to see him in the Flash movie directed by Andy Muschietti and written by Christina Hodson as well. So there's going to be plenty of live action versions of Superman. So as you can see, Superman front and centre in the future of DC live action, and Batman thus far, and with the Nubia rumours of Wonder Woman as well, that's exciting. So I want to see more of that as well. So we'll have to wait and see how all this develops. But it looks like the trio of the most important superheroes in DC will be front and centre. Superman, Batman and Wonder Woman. That's exactly what we want to see. And so it'll be very interesting what Jim Lee, Walter Hamada and everyone else has to say about the future of Superman. It's a big day. They have been plugging Superman within their trailers, but they haven't been showing us a lot of Henry Cavill. So we're just going to have to wait and see how all this develops. But you've got under a week to go, and a lot of things finally will be revealed about the future of this character in live action, but even more importantly, the future of DC live action. It's time for your DCEU updates. Peacemaker Hotline allows callers to listen in on Task Force X meeting. Now, this is a great idea. It's something that Doctor Who started yesterday as well. So I'm not sure who came up with this idea first, but this is great interactive marketing. The official Peacemaker Twitter account posts a phone number that lets callers listen in on a meeting between the members of Task Force X by Kyle Osterman of Screen Rant. The Peacemaker HBO Max show is coming soon, and the official Twitter account has posted a phone number for fans to call. The character of Peacemaker, played by John Cena, was recently seen in The Suicide Squad, directed by James Gunn. While the film did not do well at the box office, it was a critical success, and many fans have praised its adult and campy tone. A mid-credit scene for The Suicide Squad saw Peacemaker in a hospital recovering from his fight against Bloodsport. Some of Amanda Waller's team members have gone rogue toward the end of the movie, and they are seen at the hospital mentioning that they need him for a mission. Peacemaker will follow the events of the Suicide Squad and see the titular character going on this deadly mission. It will presumably involve him working behind Waller's back with her staff, as well as getting involved with Vigilante, played by Freddie Stromer, a New York district attorney that becomes an anti-hero that has quick healing properties. While details about Peacemaker are slim, so far it will excite fans to know that James Gunn wrote all 8 episodes of Peacemaker and directed most of them. Now the official Peacemaker Twitter account has tweeted out a number for fans to call in preparation for New York Comic Con. If dialed, callers will a Task Force X meeting that Peacemaker is late for. After a brief hold, callers can hear some audio from the recently released clip from the show. Check out the tweet and phone number below. If you're committed to peace, call 1833. Wow, that's nuts, isn't it? While the audio is just from an already released clip, it is still a unique way to promote the upcoming DC series, I agree. The official Twitter account tweets often and interacts with fans, so it is doing a great job at promoting just how fun the show could be. So far, fans have been treated with a bit of footage from ads for HBO Max and DC Fandom. A poster was also recently released. The Peacemaker teaser trailer will be released at DC Fandom, but this phone number is a fun way to tie fans over until next week. As mentioned above, the clip itself can be found online, but releasing this number for NYCCC weekend is another opportunity to build hype for the series. Many are already excited to see the return of Peacemaker after his appearance in the Suicide Squad, but the more attention the show gets, the better it could potentially do on HBO Max. The audio from the phone call again teases Task Force X with another Suicide Squad character expected to appear in Peacemaker. It's possible other characters could get spin-off projects if Peacemaker is a success. That being said, promoting Peacemaker is clearly HBO's focus as of right now, and that's really, really good. Yeah, they're amping up the marketing. The phone number thing, just like they're doing with Doctor Who, we'll discuss that on today's Doctor Who Daily a little bit later on. It's really good. It gets fans excited. Listen, the Suicide Squad didn't capture people's imaginations, but for the people who saw it, they really enjoyed it, and it did great on HBO Max. So it's not a failure, it made money for them, and it's got this spin-off which I think will be very successful. But I don't think James Gunn is the be-all and end-all of the future of the DCEU. He's just taking part in a little corner of it, and that's great. Well, I was sitting there thinking about this the other day because I said that The Flash would wrap up last week, but it looks like they've pretty much wrapped on the Flash movie now. The Flash movie crew celebrates production wrap with new set photo. The Flash movie's crew member shares a post on Instagram where they can't even write on here, can they? On Instagram, where is he celebrating the wrap up of production with the rest of his colleagues by Saeed Fadullah Hassani of Screen Rant. The Flash's sound crew has already finished production on the movie, directed by Argentinian filmmaker Andy Muschietti, off a screenplay by Batgirl writer Christina Hodson. It's not Hudson, it's Hodgson, oh God. The Flash marks the return of Ezra Miller's Barry Allen to the DCEU after his debut cameo in Batman vs Superman Dawn of Justice and a prominent appearance in 2017's Justice League. The movie will track Miller's Scarlet Speedster on a journey inspired by the comic book storyline Flashpoint. The superhero will travel back in time to prevent his mother's death, oblivious of the catastrophic repercussions it will bring to his timeline. Currently, The Flash is slated for a release on November the 4th, 2022 in the United States. For a myriad of reasons, The Flash has managed to create quite some buzz among DC fans. For one, fans are stoked about the introduction of Sasha Calle as DCEU's Supergirl, and there is also a lot of excitement as both versions of Batman, played by Ben Affleck and Michael Keaton, are set to appear in the movie. That being said, The Flash has taken an exceptionally long time to complete shooting. The movie has been filming since April, and even now, 6 months in, the production is still ongoing. A few weeks earlier, a post from producer Barbara Muschietti seemed to indicate that work on The Flash is drawing closer to the finish line. Now, another confirmation from the film's crew suggests that the movie has nearly completed filming. Yeah, in the old days, films used to take this long and even longer to make, especially a special effects extravaganza like the Flash movie, but it just shows you how huge this movie is for the future of the DCEU and DC live action. That's why it's taking so long. It's a complicated movie when you think about if this character is treading in past movies. That's something that really, because not just a case of doing it on the computer. They've got to get Ez there. He's got to be on a green screen, and he's got to be acting like he's watching the movie. They've probably got the movies on screen for him. It's a really hard thing to do, and you know, credit to the director, Andy Muschietti, and Ezra as well, because that's a hard element of it. I'm so hyped for this film. I'm glad production is coming to an end. I don't think there will be any reshoots. I think they've got everything in the can now that they want to get in the can. This is a director's vision, but it's a studio's vision, because this is a film that reassesses and changes a whole franchise, and we all hold our breaths to find out what it's all about. And we will see the very first opening sequence of the Flash movie at DC Fandom this Saturday, so get hyped. So yesterday we were reading an article from Screen Rant about the Batman Lego set, but there's something else in that Lego set as well. The Batman Robert Pattinson's Drifter disguise revealed by Lego set. An official Lego tie-in set for Matt Reeves, the Batman reveals a new look for Bruce Wayne's Robert Pattinson's disguise as a drifter in Gotham. I didn't even know he had this disguise, so this is awesome. By Anna Dunnerog of Screen Rant. A new Lego set for the Batman reveals Bruce Wayne's look as a drifter. Directed by Matt Reeves, the upcoming Warner Brothers and DC Films project will debut Robert Pattinson as the next iteration of the Caped Crusader after its production was hampered by the coronavirus pandemic and its release date was pushed back. It's now set for a March 2022 release date. With its premiere slowly inching near, marketing for the movie is also ramping up. Unlike the DCEU's version of the character played by Ben Affleck, Pattinson's Bruce Wayne is fairly new in his role as the Bat of Gotham. Reeves also shared that the movie's story will revolve around the deep-rooted corruption in Gotham City and how the Waynes are somehow connected to it. Paul Dano's The Riddler will be the main antagonist, with Penguin Colin Farrell and Catwoman Zoe Kravitz involved as well. Meanwhile, Bruce will find some loyal allies in his corner, with Alfred Pennyworth, Andy Serkis, and Commissioner Gordon Jeffrey Wright. Tie-in merchandise for the Batman offers new information about what to expect from the movie. The new Lego set for the movies shares the first look at Bruce's drifter disguise. Aside from this information from the box's art, fans can also see the character's full ensemble through its minifigure. Check out the images below. Yeah, these are the same images I showed you yesterday. Aside from Bruce's drifter look, the new Lego sets for the Batman also revealed Alfred's costume, as well as Riddler getting inside the Batcave. There's also a recreation of Batman and Catwoman's chase. which was previously seen through set photos and videos with regard to Bruce's drifter persona. Not much is really interesting in terms of his whole aesthetic. Instead, it's much more curious to learn how this fits in the movie's overall narrative. As Reeves revealed, Bruce grows increasingly frustrated that 2 years of being the Batman doesn't seem to bring the changes he wants in Gotham. Perhaps being a drifter allows him to be on the ground and find more information about his missions. That being said, the fact that he can casually wander around with that disguise without drawing much attention could be an indication of how run down the city is in the blockbuster. While Lego sets aren't always the most reliable when it comes to story details, fans won't have to wait that long to find out more about the Batman. It's been confirmed that a brand new trailer will debut at DC Fandom later this month. Other than that, Pattinson teased that there are some surprises for those who are tuning in. If Reeves' appearance last year at the virtual event is an indication, expect him to be quite generous with sharing fresh details about the much anticipated project. Out of all the directors, Matt Reeves at last year's Fandom impressed me the most. He stood there, he gave out details, he seemed very, very softly spoken, my kind of guy, seems like a nice, kind guy, and I really appreciated seeing him at Fandom. Totally the opposite of what I thought he'd be. Yeah, absolutely fantastic, and I can't wait for the trailer this Saturday and to see what more Matt has to say about the Batman. Wow, I was just about to wrap up today's DCEU Daily, and then one of my subscribers, Ronnie Dodge, thanks for this, Ronnie, put this out there for me. So this is just coming through to me via Ronnie Dodge. Jim Lee has confirmed that 2 new projects will be announced during DC Fandom. It has not been specified if it is for film or television. Now, I don't want to get you overly excited because this could just be Ta-Nehisi Coates and J.J. Abrams' Superman movie and Michael B. Jordan's Val Zod limited series on HBO Max, but they have already been announced by the media, so maybe Jim Lee is talking about 2 separate projects. So this is what Ronnie Dodge just told me. Jim Lee said 2 projects will be announced at Fandom on his Twitch. Very, very interesting. So hang on. So if we go back to this, because this is from DC Universe, which speaks in another language, but you can press translate. So Jim Lee has confirmed that 2 new projects will be announced during DC Fandom. So start to wonder what they could be. I think it could be a Green Lantern Corps movie, and it could be a Nubia Wonder Woman movie as well. That's what I imagine. So yeah, I know there's a lot of things everyone wants, and you'll probably think, not them, I want something else. I want Cavill's Man of Steel 2 or 3 or whatever at this point, right? But as I say, it's like life. You don't always unwrap the present that you want, but we will wait and see. So I repeat, just coming in via one of my subscribers, one of my favorite subscribers, Ronnie Dodge, that Jim Lee has said 2 new DC live-action projects will be announced this Saturday at DC Fandom. And this is what it's all about on Movies TV Mag and the DCEU Daily. If news drops while I'm doing a video, I won't hold off to do another one so you can watch my content again. I will tell you on the DCEU Daily. That's the whole point of the show, to give you updates and editorials and have some fun and talk about our favourite DC franchise. This has been the DCEU Daily. I'm Mick, your host with the most. Just ask your girlfriends and your wives. I will be back tomorrow with even more stuff to discuss and news to react to in tomorrow's DCEU Daily. Like, share, subscribe, comment, hit the notification bell so you never miss this perfection, and I'll see you again tomorrow with even more DCEU Daily. Until then, goodbye.